Okay. Hey guys, how's it going tonight? I'm trying to be real careful tonight because I was watching a playback of my stream last, and I didn't realize like how bad it was lagging at the very beginning. I hope I don't have those problems tonight because I say for like maybe like the first 30 minutes of that last stream, I was pretty much mute basically. This laptop has been working pretty well for me, but I've been having some issues streaming with. I don't know. Well, I've heard a lot of people have been having issues with StreamYard lately. I say things are going a little bit smoother, like as far as like the laptop and StreamYard is concerned. Maybe it was just an off night. This laptop has been working pretty well for me, but I've been for like maybe like the first 30 minutes of that last stream. I would I think I'm going to probably wait a little bit to post the link. Today, I think today we're going to be talking about in honor of Black History Month. And I, I've been meaning to scheduling conflicts have kind of gotten in the way. I was planning on streaming this like last Valentine's Day, but it, like I said, had a scheduling conflict going on. But better late than never. It's Black History Month, so I thought now would be what better time than now to talk about this. How much of how much of Black history is really mulatto history? Because I've been on the internet lately and I've noticed a disturbing trend going on where now people are saying, oh, well, biracial people can only celebrate half of Black History Month. And I find that interesting, to say the least, considering that a lot of what we would call Black history is basically mulatto history, if we're being perfectly honest. And I know the main excuse a lot of people like to use is, well, back then they were considered black still. Well, that's not the point. The point of the matter is that they were still mixed race. So if that were to be the case, okay, fine. Then a lot of what you would call black history would be getting taken away. And it's like when a lot of black people hear this, they start backtracking and moving the goalposts. Well, first they like to say, well, technically all of us are mixed, but these will be the same people that say, oh, mixed race people are black, yada, yada, yada. And then when you start saying, okay, well, then you don't have the first black president, you don't got the Duchess, then all of a sudden the goalposts start getting moved. He's like, well, actually, technically, every black person in America isn't fully breaded. Right. Okay. So now it just is a circle of emotions and just all types of just mental gymnastics that get played in this situation. And tonight we're about to discuss it. Facts. MR says as well as the gaslighting. Yes. And I want to talk about something else that I find very disturbing. In fact, let's talk about it right now since we got the conversation going. I'm going to show you guys something. I'm going to be making a video on this too, but why not start now? Just share the screen real fast. It's definitely working a little bit better than last time. Y'all let me know if it starts echoing again. Can you guys see that okay? $1 bill, I'ma show you where the buck stop. But even now, notice, look at the imagery. Notice the pictures that they're using. It's going to all tie in a second. Let me look this up as well. Share screen. Charles Deslondes was an African American rebel who was one of the leaders in the 1811 German Coast Uprising, a slave revolt that began on January 8, 1811, in the territory of Orleans. He led more than 500 rebels against the plantations along the Mississippi River, Old New Orleans, toward New Orleans. White planters formed militias and ended up hunting down the rebels. He was only 22. He did all of this at just 22 years old. That's amazing. He was born on a plantation in Deslondes family in Haiti about the year 1789. But this is what is the most interesting about this. A Creole mulatto slave. So, taking that into consideration, why does he look like this? This is would be a more probably accurate visual representation of him. So where did this come from? Because this is something, this ties in a lot to one of the reasons why a lot of the members of the community can spew this nonsense. Because the real history is not being told. Well, it is, but it's being told by people, controlled opposition, as I like to say. A lot of the light skinned people that talk about this are speaking from it in a light skinned savior manifesto. And if there's one thing we know about light skinned saviors, they're never going to call the black community out on this nonsense. This is not what a Creole mulatto slave would look like. And this is one of the reasons why I say image is so important. Because there's a lot of people that just don't really have the time or the intelligence to look up these figures. And that's why we have movies like how dangerous movies like The Birth of a Nation can be with Nate Parker playing Nat Turner. Because yes, blackwashing is still very prevalent even to this day. And there are hundreds of examples. And here's the thing, this is what people just, the main argument I see in all of these spaces, and it's weird. On most light skin channels, it's always people saying, "Oh, you guys need help. Oh, light skin. There's more important things we could be talking about." Oh, skin tone shouldn't matter. Okay, cool. We just had a live stream where black people are literally crying over a fictional Marvel character. Now, don't get me wrong. I am probably one of the biggest Marvel fans out there. But I think we all can agree that non-fictional characters will always be more important than fictional characters. So representation only matters when it comes to dark-skinned blacks. And here's the honest truth about the whole situation. If black people really were for black unity like they say, then the calling out would go both ways. I think we all could respect black people more if okay, dark skinned black people called out Thurgood Marshall, if they called out Tyler Perry for being Colin Powell, if they called out the guy who played Barack Obama in the movie. Yes, Barack Obama was blackwashed as well. Barack Obama, the first black, well, technically mulatto president of the United States, and even he was blackwashed. And I was actually going through the comment section of the Thurgood Marshall movie, and there was actually people that were praising Chadwick Boseman instead of calling out how he didn't look nothing like Thurgood Marshall. It's like the hypocrisy just does not end with the black community. And the black community has pretty much devolved. It doesn't even represent what they claim it represents. Like, we're supposed to be, people come on these channels and talk about how we're dividing the community, but yet the black community has just devolved to a point now where it's just devolved to just only uplifting dark skinned blacks. If you're a light skinned person, your sole job as a light skinned person is to just uplift dark skinned black people. You're not allowed to uplift yourself. You're supposed to uplift us and only us. And when I'm just trying to figure out, when did this happen? When did we get to this point? And it's like you ask light skinned black people and it just flies over a lot of their heads. And in all honesty, we can talk about light skinned women on this page a lot, and I've been seeing a lot of, but I don't really understand how light skinned men are allowing this to happen. It's just bewildering to me. Like I just don't understand it. Like what do you guys, like, realistically nowadays as a light skinned man? What are you really risking by calling the black community out on any of this? Like I don't know where light skinned men's heads are at, but obviously someone has just got light skinned men to the point where they just have no backbone anymore. Yeah, we gotta call it like it is. A lot of us just don't have a backbone. And I know that's probably not going to sit well with people, but we have to look at reality for what it is. There's no other group of men on the planet that would allow this to happen at this much of a pace. And I know that I'm just waiting for somebody in this comment section to talk about their little turn the other cheek nonsense of, oh, well, that their favorite argument, oh, there's more important things to be talking about. And I'm just like, okay, and what is it? Enlighten me. What what's more important than talking about your history getting erased? I would love to know what that looks like. This is just blatant by intentional or non-intentional. This is just blatant blackwashing at its finest. And why does it keep happening? This is how we get to a point where dark-skinned black people can tell MLS people that we can only celebrate half of Black History Month because of stuff like this. This wouldn't be the case if obviously the Hollywood media wasn't placing batteries in their back, or just overall just history misfortunes at its finest. We got the first model of African American descent right here, Ophelia DeVore. DeVore. I think that's how you say her name. She established one of the first modeling agencies in America. Notice, look what she did. One of the few places where non-white models could gain work. This is going to be a common theme in tonight's live stream. The very fact that Black people even have the gall and the audacity to even say such a disrespectful thing, for one, it tells me three things. For one, it just tells me how just the way that ignorance has just befallen this community, which is one of the biggest reasons why the community finds itself in the shape that it's in, that you guys would willingly disrespect the very people that have paved the way to do the things that you're no good Black, fine, I'll say it. Your no good Black ass is living off of to this day. Like how? I don't get it. Like how can you as a Black person even have the audacity to say, oh, half of the Black History Month? There wouldn't be history for y'all goofy you know what if it wasn't for mulatto people. Mulatto people, MLS men and women, fought harder than just about anybody to have. We would not be here if it wasn't off of their backs. I know that's just something that a lot of these you just absolute disgraces of Black people nowadays just don't want to admit, but that's just the truth. I don't know where you guys came from. I really don't. Like, you guys are just an absolute disgrace. It's disgraceful. This community is nothing short of disgraceful. I'm sorry, it is. Since nobody wants to tell the truth, I'll say it for everybody. Like, these folks nowadays just make you almost ashamed to even say you're Black nowadays. Like, the ignorance has just gotten to a point where it's just almost unbearable. I can't be the only one that feels this way. But yes, she made it and she paved the way for other non-white models. Co-hosting ABC. Mary Kinner. She lived a long life, was an American inventor most noted for her development of the adjustable sanitary belt. Received 5 patents, which includes a carrier attachment for invalid walker and bathroom tissue dispenser. So all these dispensers that you see at all these bathrooms of today, there goes the creator, the mastermind behind the whole thing. The reason why we can go to public bathrooms and roll up that white stuff that cleans our areas. And this, the thing that's just saddening about all this is just all the inventions that a lot of them didn't even get credit for, that were stolen from racist white people back. Her grandfather invented the light signal for trains. It's just saddening to say. It was stolen from him. Her father patented the window washer for trains, invented the stretcher with wheels for ambulances. The toilet tissue holder. She was, her whole family was basically geniuses and they had inventions that a lot of them wouldn't even get taken credit for. Oh, I stand corrected. She also invented menstrual pads, which I think we all know a lot of women today use. This is just one of the many examples of what I talk about. Not only are these people icons for the black community and mulatto community, these people are American icons who deserve their utmost respect for what they have created that we use to this very day. And the very fact that there's black people that will try to discredit them is just disgraceful. There's actually black people nowadays that will say that they got where they were for light skin privilege. Yes, that is what, that is just the type of foolishness that we have to deal with nowadays. It's just, it is just bewildering what is going on in the black community nowadays. And we got another one. This one you guys probably know, Charles Drew. Again, American icons. Thousands of Allied forces' lives. But the just frightening thing about people like Charles Drew is if they were to make a movie about him, there's no telling who would be playing him in that movie. This is why I say that our image under being under attack is probably the most dangerous battle that us MLS men are going to have to develop the gall to fight. Because make no mistake about it, if Charles Drew does get a movie, you can bet your paycheck that he's more than likely not going to look like this when he's cast. And the way the social climate is nowadays, we're liable to see him getting portrayed by dames and Idris. I forget dames and Idris or something like that. Hello, Pardo. Nice of you to drop by. He was an athlete as well. He helped set up and administer the early prototype program for blood storage. He saved hundreds, probably if not thousands of lives during World War II. Very, a very weird suspect death. As far as I know, I don't believe there's a movie for him, at least. Kind of days that way, honestly, with the current climate of the world. But I could be wrong. No, it doesn't look like he has a movie. David Crosthwait. He was the creator of the what we know as the air and heat. How a lot of our houses have heating and cooling. This was the pioneer behind the mastermind behind the whole thing. Heat transfers, ventilations, and air conditioning. This guy is literally the reason why I can live in my house. How I can be warm in the winter. How I can be cool in the summer. How we can be cool in the summer and warm in the winter. At the end of the day, all of this stuff just circles back to light skinned men. Lighthouse, where do you think that light skin comes from? That has that makes no sense at all, especially back then. And even if that were the case, what does that have to do with what I'm talking about? Okay, they come from light skinned families. Okay, yes, they do. So that should be all of the more reason why. What? Because they're from light skinned families, does that mean that they're magically black people are supposed to take credit for it? See, this is exactly what I'd be talking about. Moving the goalposts. It's just that simple. Like, and a lot of these light skinned families are what the funny thing is a lot of these folks would be part of that blue vein society that a lot of black people speak with vitriol about. And this is just another example of where these conversations just seem to go a lot of times. We end up debating, oh, who's light skinned, who's MGM, and who's biracial. The point of the matter is these people had MGM mixed race ancestry. A lot of them would be part. Well, to those people, I would say that those people are very ignorant to their own genealogy as well. Because just like I say that it's ignorant for black, it's also ignorant for biracial people to be talking down on these people because it goes both ways. These people are the reason why you as a biracial person can walk around in society and do what you do. And honestly, for a biracial person to say that, that's even more stupid because all it would take is if you a biracial person were to get with an MGM, you're basically creating this MGM person. Like it's just absolute just nonsense nowadays. Like ignorance has just gotten to a point nowadays where it's just reached a point of no return. There's just a lot of ignorant people nowadays. And unfortunately, nowadays with the way the internet is, echo chambers can now be created easily than ever, which brings in a whole multitude of more ignorant people. Neither black people nor biracial people should have anything to say in terms of the history of MGM or light skin, even biracial people, because these people are the very reason why you have what you have, where all these inventions came from. They're literally the reason why you can walk out your door in peace, and they deserve respect. Their image deserves respect. Like everything, we've just gotten to a point now where ignorance has just taken over everything. There's no other word to summarize it better. Ignorance. Well, Lighthouse, you have to be in this space. There's a lot of people that there's just a lot of ignorant people that have been a part of this space. And take it from me, I've been in this space for a long time, and there's been a lot of detractors. There's just a lot of people in this space that are in this space for all the wrong reasons. That's not what, and I'll be the first to say, if you feel that way, then this channel is not for you. You can kindly exit next left. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Because on this channel, we uplift light skinned people, we uplift mixed people, like we uplift each other on this channel. And I'm not going to be one of those people that are just going to just all say, oh, this light skin is better or mixed. Like, no, that is not the message I'm trying to provoke. Both of us have had our issues. Both of us have had our image blackwashed. Both of us are suffering the same problem. And trust and believe me when I say this, at the end of the day, a lot of the dark-skinned black people, they don't care if you're mixed, if you're a light-skinned black. They are going to other you with the quickest. You don't believe me? Just look at my last live stream. Aaron Pierre is what a lot of people would call technically a light-skinned black man, right? But when it came to him playing Black Panther, what happened? He became the lightest light-skinned black man. Oh, he's mixed racial, he got green eyes, he's not fully black, or he doesn't represent us, he doesn't represent. Like, I just laugh when light-skinned people just tell me that nonsense. Like, you guys do not understand. If biracial people go, who do you think's going to be next? Because I will tell you this. As far as dark-skinned, the black community has gotten to a point now. Light-skinned people have been rolling over and accepting dark-skinned black people's foolishness for so long. Dark-skinned black people are going to keep pushing this to as far as they can go. It's getting worse. It's not, as much as I would love to say that all my years on YouTube that this problem would be getting fixed, this problem is getting worse. It's not getting better. It's just not. Like, light-skinned black people are simping and putting on the cape for the black community now more than ever. And when dark-skinned black people see this and they see a light-skinned black person that isn't, they're going to feel some type of way about it. And this one is going to really interest you guys. But it also goes back there's not really much on her, honestly. She invented the first hairbrush. And not only did she create hairbrushes for black people, she invented hairbrushes for white people. The sad thing is there's not really much on, like, she barely even has birth record. And she may have been mixed race. Yeah, we do Lighthouse, but there's some people in this space that just don't really seem to understand that concept. And for those people, you just have to just let them do their own thing and see how far it gets them. Now, there's also was a talking point by certain people in this space a few years ago that is like, oh, light skinned and mixed people don't have a culture. I actually heard that from a certain member of a sector of YouTube. Well, certain people. And there's a lot of detractors that nowadays they'll say, oh, yeah, you guys can go, but you won't have anything. You're right. Because you guys have been living off of the backs of what MLS people have created. You guys have been getting carried by us for years. So for you to have the nerve to talk about like how we will just be so lost without you is just laughable to me. It just goes to show you like how dysfunctional and just crazy a lot of dark skinned black people are. You guys are in no position to say anything about light skinned black people culturally or anything, because you guys have been benefiting from us for years. Put some respect on our names. All these little pro black fools on the internet that just spew this nonsense. They just look stupid. Like I just can't believe there are people that actually follow these clowns. It's just laughable. I'm still here, guys, and just going through. Everyone wants to talk about how, and yet time after time, Okay, can you guys hear me okay? I, s- I see StreamYard is once again messing up for me again. I see StreamYard for me. Okay, guys, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I can hear you.
Yep, I hear you.
Always starts off good. It seems like once you get that hour, boom. Is there an echo? I think somebody's mic is echoing.
Is it
Oh
mine?
yeah, I hear it too.
Is it mine? Do you hear me?
Oh yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you. It's just an echo.
I don't think it's me.
Yeah, I'm on my phone.
I did hear an echo when you spoke.
Okay, I think I got it now. I think it was me. I'm sorry. So
So how
okay,
you
now
guys
that we
doing?
All doing pretty good about yourself.
Not bad. Not bad. I was I'm glad you decided to come up, Brown and Beige, because I was thinking about a panel for us tonight. There are so many other panels that I was switching on and off to earlier today. So, but you seem a bit perplexed. What's going on?
well, I think usually at like the hour mark of my live streams, everything just goes smoothly, and then it seems like at a certain point my laptop just start everything just starts going wrong all at once, and then I gotta turn that off, hurry up, turn it off, and then switch onto my phone, and then hurry up and get that off before that loud echo starts going in and making us all deaf.
Right.
Rest in peace to earphone users.
Yeah. So no, but I was talking about really about you going in on people about, well, the topic actually. We get half a month. What was the deal on that?
So basically, on the internet now, it's been a joke that mulatto people only get half of Black History Month.
Well, given our numbers, that's not bad. They're giving us something. We need our own month, but we need our whole year.
Well, it goes back to what I said. Like, to me, the fact that they're saying this just shows how ignorant they are. Because just these are just some of the examples. I haven't even like went like fully all in on like there's just so many things that MLS people have created that just seem to get just thrown into the category of blackness that everybody is just being just completely oblivious to acknowledging.
Yeah, or like you say, and like we've talked about before, they want to include us into the entire community, and then they only want to include us when it's convenient. So Black History Month just makes it more pronounced.
It stays solid that y'all is the yes, it's just appalling. I don't know many Creoles that look like that, honestly. Maybe I could be wrong, but I don't know.
They look like what? Oh.
Oh
No,
yeah.
look like what?
Well, there's a picture of. Let me see if I can share on my. That's why I hate doing it on my phone. I can't really share as good.
Oh, you talking about that Charles Deslondes?
Yeah, that photo of him.
I don't know who that is.
So basically, he led probably one of the greatest slave revolts. And he was basically Nat Turner before Nat Turner even won. He led a slavery revolt at the age of 22 in New Orleans. He was a Creole mulatto slave, and he basically was an overseer to freedom. And it's one of the reasons people aren't going to talk about it is because it kind of tries to throw a wrench in a lot of narratives going on, like the narrative that us light-skinned people were just hand in hand just hugging white people back in slavery times and that they loved us so much. But if you look at the way he was killed, it was just disgusting. Like he died even worse death than Nat Turner. But
yeah, this is a new one to me. I've never heard people talk about him, and I'm on looking at pictures of him now. So
the fact that he's not getting talked about is just unbelievable.
Well, there are so many contributions that we've made, MGMs have made. And, you know, like I said, you know, part of the problem is being pulled in to blackness, being excluded from blackness, basically, but only pulled in when it benefits a narrative.
Yes.
Their narrative to say, okay, look at what we've done. And I was thinking about this heavily in a way that people will say we have no culture, right? You know, you hear that around FBA, you hear that around MGMs, you just hear that. And even with the examples that you gave, you know, we are culture. We created the Americanism because we grew up in it. We are all this piece that grew up in it. So we contributed to American culture. And that's one reason for me when I sometimes go on panels and I get a lot of blowback. My first explanation when somebody asks me what I am is to say American, right? And then I become a little bit upset, and I try not to exhibit that. But my next question to them is, "What are you? Where are you from?" Right? And that throws them off. Or if I even anticipate that's what the question is going to be, I'll ask them before they can ask me what my background is. You see, that throws them off because a lot of times white people are not going to be expecting you to come at them. They want to be able to be the inquisitor without being questioned. With black people and some white people, it's to say, okay, then you are with the white person, right? You know, that's their go-to with all of us that are light MGM people. And I agree with you with respect to biracials. You know, I mean, what is it? The one generation. The next anybody they have a child with is going to be multi-generationally mixed. So really, what is it with them trying to separate? So
Stay Solid says, is it fair to say the black community looks at mulattoes as their butlers? Absolutely. Not even just light-skinned people too. In fact, I would argue that the black community views light-skinned people as probably the biggest butlers, and we're just supposed to just be dark-skinned black people's lapdog at this point.
yeah, it's just you gotta you know what, you have to walk your walk. I don't know that I would say that they look at us as their butlers, but there is that one, and we discussed this on a panel, probably when that person came out, said use light skinned people for to go
Oh,
against
crash test dummies, Kwame Brown.
I mean, bro,
I don't know that it was Kwame. It was somebody else that says let's just use them. It could have been an African guy or somebody said we're going to use light-skinned people to go fight our battles. So in a way, yes, crash test dummies. But
You know what? I'm wondering if it was possibly Umar.
Yeah, he's a fool.
don't even get me started.
Right, and you know it though, and while you know in Brown and Beige, while you was giving your correlect on the whole topic right before we hopped on the panel, I was happening, you know, just to be looking at a video last night, and I just started thinking, it's like, hey, yo, somewhat will mentality, like the video that I was looking at, it's like, hey, we can somewhat learn from this. And in the sense of oh, what's that?
What was it about?
Okay, now I don't know if y'all know this person. Now I may get some flack, but oh well. There was this YouTuber. Unfortunately, he's no longer here with us. His name was David Carroll.
Oh,
yeah. Now David Carroll would pretty much was sort of like he did have some very controversial takes on things. That's only until you really got a chance to listen to him and the whole structure, the whole arc, and you realize that it's like, well, it's not necessarily that far-fetched, nor is it really off the wall. And I was thinking, you know what? Like some of your takes, yeah, it can somewhat be over the top, but as far as the how to be sort of, rebellious, especially against these narratives being directed at us. Like, even for an example, like when you mentioned Birth of a Nation and how that was so quick to be boycotted or called to be canceled because the outside looking in viewed it as being denigrating. As if you don't look at rap videos, not all of them, but certain artists who degrades themselves on the public stage, but that gets uplifted. That's why I said priorities are just somewhat it's just sort of out of character and out of question. And some people, including MLS people, not all of us, but you know who you are, sort of like to go with what's best suited for you at that time until it's not.
Yeah. And basically, oh, what were you saying? I'm sorry.
No, I heard this guy last night, and I thought I had saved him, but I got him in my history, so I'm looking at him. But mixed race manipulation, the biracial category on racial wars on psychological on the psychological battlefield. This is the first time I've seen him. He's kind of new. His name is Cali Red, and he's one that wants to just put us all in the category with black people, and to say that mixed race biracial people are black. And what I have been thinking about, because of all this delineation discussions going on around YouTube, and it's kind of funny because I do like this this guy who has, he goes back and forth to Africa, but he's got a lot of Africans on there. But then the Africans hate that Black Americans are delineating. But if he has a topic like tonight on Burkina Faso, then all you get is these Africans from all these different countries that discuss how they are better than somebody else, or discuss that it's this tribe over here that's causing the problem. And if you listen, they kind of admit to everything that Black FBAs are delineating for. And they don't want to give Black Americans their ability to say we are American, but yet they want to hold tight to the fact that they're Hausa, or they're Nigerian, or that they're African. And on the flip side, there's no way that Black people in America don't have the same right. And then when you come down to look at now, and I said this with you last time on Brown and Beige when we had the discussion the last time you had it live, is that now with FBA saying we are American, well, that is akin to the Dominicans saying we're Dominican, not denying the Africanness, but just saying that they're Dominican. And FBA is now saying they are American. So they are claiming that there is this distinction. And to drill it down to us, we have been saying that we want to be MGM. We want this racial category. And so now, how can you deny us, light skin, MGMs, to say that we are not different when you now are saying that you are different. And you cannot claim now that you are claiming that difference, that your argument is not the same as the Dominicans. So it is our time now to use that argument that all of them are using to say, hey, look, we are our own group. And to go back even further, or to make another point, is to say that this stuff that we experience, we continue to experience. I said it on the last stream in talking to my father, that and or just seeing how he moved through life. When I got to the point where I could recognize it, we are not the aggressors in this. We have never come on, not I can't say never, but we are not the ones that have really said that you black people are this, you white people are this. We just want to be our own group and recognized as our own group, because the aggressiveness toward us has always been there. And I think it's always been there since the inception. As I've said before, the minute there was a black-white birth in the United States, the minute we came out the womb is the minute the bullshit started.
But you want to know something interesting? You brought up something, and I actually have been thinking about this a little bit. But you had brought up something about Dominicans.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about, there's been a lot of people, I think y'all probably have heard Godfrey, who says, oh, me, no.
Right. He always,
Dominican.
Yeah.
I noticed that with like a lot of, it's not really too, but it's people in the pro-black space that just love to throw. I think in some cases, in the case of like the black community, a lot of black people have kind of adopted racist white people ways, where they want to just throw everybody in one box under one umbrella. Like back then, oh, if you have one quart of black, you are black. Black people have now adopted the same racist lineage by trying to say, oh, if you're even a little bit black, you're black. Like, it's literally the same concept. It's just on the other end of the coin. Yeah. And in the case of like Africans, even during slavery times, were separated by tribes. Like, this is just strictly American way of thinking, where we want to place everybody in one box and just narrow it down. I guess, I don't know, maybe it's just an American culture thing, but I feel like
that was also one of the reasons why I did my stream based off the one drop rule effect, and how originally it was supposed to sort of disenfranchise, non-white groups, but unfortunately for us as MLS people, we sort of could just kind of, I don't want to use the saying of fell right into it, but we ended up being pretty much at the wrong place at the wrong time when all this was being introduced. Because they weren't necessarily going to allow, at that time anyway, they weren't going to necessarily, take a group of people like that look like all of us on the panel, and even the same ones in the chat room, to necessarily put us on the equal level or playing field.
You're basically fighting a battle that you're going to lose.
Yeah.
Because in the case, I would say that Amala's men have probably been the most patient, but I don't think people realize like how psychologically destructive it is for you as a man to be placed in a community that doesn't uphold your image to the best it can be. And truth be told, that's probably why a lot of Amala's men are suffering from mental health issues nowadays. Mm-hmm. That's something.
Yeah, because this struggle of this struggle of identity, finding identity.
Like yesterday, I had seen there was a MLS man at a grocery store, and it was like a really MLS, and he was funny. He was with a black woman, and I seen her. She was like one of she was very very dark. I'm talking like she actually looked like you know that model. I think you might have seen it on Instagram.
The one that got discovered on Howard's campus. The real
I think
dark,
so.
real dark,
Yeah.
dark, pretty
Yeah, she
one.
was like,
She was
yeah, she
beautiful,
was like,
but she was super dark, right?
yeah. And to me, I don't know. I kind of just side eye couples like that because it's like, as much as I would love to just wish them like a happy, like knowing what I know in the space and knowing the way like a lot of dark skinned black people talk, I just in the back of my head I'm wondering, are you guys genuinely in love with each other, or are you just using each other to get what you want? We all know like those dark skinned women want lighter kids and the light skinned male wants validation, and it's just vice versa with dark skinned men and light skinned women. Like it's just a just endless cycle of just confusion and hysteria.
Yep.
It just never ends.
And that was also what I was looking forward to put that in perspective of how when they do stuff like this, all it does is just bring and rain on more confusion and more disillusion to where, we have to still talk about it for years and years to come until you decode it. There's always going to be a decode. There's always going to be a decode that has to be ciphered somewhere down the line, and also through a pattern of social engineering, as well as trying to battle an unhealthy addiction. Yeah. Now, again, you may say, well, what's the unhealthy addiction? Look at what we're talking. Look at what you're talking about right now. If Black people were to leave light-skinned people alone, keep us out of your mouths and keep us out of your mental state, a lot of them would have these withdrawals. And if you struggle with addiction, and anyone who struggled with addiction knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, I will say this, and we've talked about this. It's always a Black person analyzing MLS, MGMs. It's never the other way around. And that's why I used the word aggressor earlier, only to say that we are not the ones in their spaces, like you guys have said. We're not in their spaces. We're not trying to impose our beliefs, ourselves onto anybody else, but they're always analyzing us. They're always critical of who we are. And it's always been that in life, right? You're an Oreo, you're light bright, you're this, that, or the other. It's never the other way around, right? So in that, yeah, it's an addiction. It seems to be that we are living rent free.
Yep.
For what? I don't know. I don't understand why we're there. I do, but I mean, it's just like the conversations that we have on that Pan-African or that African channel. Why don't you guys fix it yourselves and leave us alone? We're doing what we need to do. We're doing what we want to do.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, I think it can be boiled down to just one simple truth, and that truth of the matter is dark-skinned people do not like what they see in the mirror. If that weren't the case, they wouldn't. To me, if I was a dark-skinned black person, if I really was on that Pan-African stuff, I would be getting with the darkest black woman I could find, right? But instead of doing that, these guys want to go to the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and all these places and go say, "Oh, you guys are black like us. You're just Spanish speaking." And then it's like I look at that and I just look at them like, you guys complain about MLS people being in the black community, but you want Dominicans to be in the community too? And then it's like, oh, it's real simple. These guys want Dominicans in the community for the same reason why they want light-skinned people in the community. Easy access to women.
So they could fall. So again, so they could just pretty much fall at the hand of being subordinate.
Yeah, and it's like, oh wait, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Also, okay, well, and also there was and shout outs to Globe Light for Light. He actually did a video where it was this Dominican dude who had to basically defend himself from these black dudes that was trying to, I guess, identity police him. And he's like, the Dominican dude was like, "Yo, why are you calling me that? I'm Dominican, like I'm mixed, Dominican are mixed people." Yeah, they're like, go ahead.
I think that, and I've thought about this. You know why the Dominicans get picked on?
Why is that?
Because they're a mixed nation.
Yes.
Yep.
They're a mixed nation. So all you have to do is draw a straight line between MLS, MGMs, the Creoles, Redbones, and everybody else in the United States. You can draw a direct line to the rationale as to why black people don't like us or give us a hard time to why they give Dominicans a hard time.
It all just goes back to what I've been saying in this space. See, they want the women with the men.
Yep.
It's kind of it's just very strange dynamic with the men. It's like they're not as upfront about it, but they're very subtle with like their dislike of MLS men. But unfortunately, the reason why it's not as rampant is because MLS men have pretty much just accepted just being the subordinate. And if you look at like a lot of the Latinos that are kind of that black centric, they seem to suffer from some of those same subordinate tendencies, as I like to call it, a lot of the pro-black MLS men. Like it just goes back to what I said before. Black people have adapted the very tendencies that the people that they hate the most had. They have
in a way, you're right. The tendencies of white supremacy, the tendencies of being the aggressor, wanting us to bow down because they look at themselves as being superior. And that brings me to because I've been looking at these terminologies, right? Because FBA uses this terminology of ethnogenesis, right? So have you guys heard that word ethnogenesis?
I probably heard it maybe a couple times, but I didn't really get too much of it deeper. But when I did, it kind of sounded somewhat like a negative connotation to me, like saying ethnic genocide.
No, actually, what they're saying is that an ethnogenesis is where, let me pull this up because I had it right here and then I swear. Okay. So derived from the Greek words ethnos, meaning group of people, genesis, the beginning, refers to the formation and development of an ethnic group. The process can occur through self-identification, where a group defines itself as distinct, or through outside identification, where others recognize the group as separate. So it's a central concept in anthropology and social sciences for understanding human diversity and cultural evolution. So FBAs, and you listen to these guys in the FBA and the ADOS spaces, say that Black Americans have gone through an ethnogenesis, which makes them a distinct group from Africans, Nigerians, Ghanaians, from Benin, etc. So that's what they use to rationalists to say, no, we're not like you. And that's where I get back to saying that MGMs, Creoles, MLS, we have our own ethnogenesis that we have gone through as well in this country, which is that we have our own cultural experiences. And then the other thing that I kind of looked up is something called, and I'm going through all of the screens that I have open on my page, is epigenetics, right? So epigenetics is like the trauma. Do your genes change based upon the experiences that you have experienced in life? And I was looking through the genetic coding that the transatlantic slave trade had on us who were brought over to the New World, right? So we experienced genetic changes just based on that. And then you look at ethnogenesis, where now we as a group are saying that we are MLS people. We are MGMs, Creoles, whatever term that we want to come up with that makes us separate from Black people in this country.
But the thing about that is, this is what I've been saying on this space for a while. When you throw all these people into one group, it just doesn't work in the long haul, because regardless of how in society, pretty much in the whole world, there's going to be winners and there's going to be losers. Mm-hmm. Like, somebody is always going to win and somebody is going to lose. And the biggest losers in the Black community are MLS men, because we have gotten our image blackwashed for years, just for the mere fact that we've been thrown in with dark-skinned Black men, and they're getting to reap all the benefits off of our hard work while we get nothing. Even our historical figures are getting blackwashed because of this. That's why I say that I hate to say it, but it might be time to make a distinction, because as long as we're all grouped together, this is not going to change, because unfortunately this pro-Black culture has just infested pretty much the very consensus of the Black population.
I think, as we grow as a country, as we mature, we see these differences and we're more willing to talk, and we get more information, right? But what I see in that, what you just explained, is going in another cycle. Because, that one drop rule, that 1920 census guy, where that Walter Plecker created the one drop rule, it seems like a lot of nonsense, a lot of bullshit comes out of Virginia. I don't know what was in the water with white people in Virginia. They were just kind of, they always wanted to create terminologies and laws that uh, 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 separated out the everybody or put everybody into a category. But when I say cycles, what I mean is that it was the night, as we all have talked about, it was the 1920 census that removed mulatto and colored from the census. So when you talk about, you think we need to get our own category, we had our own category, and I think we need to get that category back. So whereas you say it's new, I say it's a cycle, and we had that. We were recognized. We were being recognized on the very first census that we in 1850. It could have gone back to before. When was the very first census taken? Was it the 1700s?
It might I might have to look that up myself. Don't quote
But
me
the
on
thing
that.
of it is, in 1850, 1860, there was a category that we had. It was colored and mulatto. So we need to get that back.
And what's even more interesting about that is the very fact that a lot of people like Nat Turner and Charles Deslondes, the fact that they were even all the way back then made that distinction. We don't know how, like, they could have been like super light skinned, like we would never know. The fact
Look,
that they were able to make that distinction should tell you right there what their image was.
yeah. The pictures are definitely darkened. The pictures are not true of their skin color. And it could be simply because of the way photographs were back then, but it surely seems that some of the pictures of say Rosa Parks, maybe not Rosa Parks, but even going back before then, like the people that you're talking about, that their photographs taken in the 1800s seem to have darkened them even more. So you're absolutely right.
And it all just goes back to just racist white people. And why I say black people have done the same thing. They try to counter white supremacy. Oh, we'll just do black supremacy. It's just the same concept, but just not the pieces on the board have just been moved a little bit.
Yeah, and that's so my thing. You've heard me say that I have been to the oversight committee that makes the rules on census categories, but we need to really be in there hammering the fact that we need a category we need the category to come back. And the other thing with me though is that the terminology, there's a lot of, I hear the mulattoes in this space, and I say mulattoes because that's what they call themselves. They seem to be more vociferous, whereas the golden sphere and the MGMs are not as loud, or as their numbers aren't as high in this space. And I always question, why cannot we come up with a new term to call ourselves? And wasn't it wasn't Magic Mulatto? What was her name that would always Golden? What was her name?
Future is golden.
Future's Golden. She's the one that coined MGM, multi-generationally mixed.
Well, the thing with her was there was just so much shame. On one hand, you got mulatto saying that, oh, you guys are just black, and then on another hand, you got black people saying, oh, these people probably aren't even really light skinned. They're just avatars behind the screen.
Right.
Like when you put that distinction out there, you're going to get hate from just about everywhere because there's just detractors on just both sides.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate because in the end, like I said, if the people who are the mulattoes in this space, they are only one generation. Your existence is one generation. That is your white parent and your black parent. So it doesn't make sense for that to be really, to me, a category. It's a category on the census right now, but it's been so diluted with other people coming in to the United States that it just doesn't, to me, hold water. And they're unwilling to look at the historical context within the United States because they always will then defer to definitions that are from Spain or how it's used in some other country, when I always have to go back to the point, well, we don't live in any other country. That's why the term, as it was used historically here, is something that doesn't sit well with everybody. It's a derogatory term, just like the term, the N word, right? So I always wonder why we cannot create a new term, and then people give me pushback on the creation of a new term because, well, we need something, this, that, or the other, but new terms are being created every day. How many new words were accepted into Merriam-Webster last year? I think it was something around 500. But you don't want to create a term for multi-generationally mixed Creoles have theirs. I personally, the only term that is of historical usage that I would feel comfortable with is Creole. That's the only term that to me is not negative, that describes us.
And even with the term Creole, it I think the reason why they don't want it because they know a distinction means losing access. The truth of the matter is, and a lot of people are probably going to take this, but a lot of dark-skinned black men benefit from this dynamic. And unfortunately, they're the ones that the black community holds their overall just image and what they want. Most of the time, what they say is what usually everybody follows. And if that, let's be honest, they don't want a distinction to be made because they benefit heavily from this dynamic.
They can still benefit from it. I mean, they can still benefit from that. But I agree. I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing with you. All I'm saying is they can still benefit from it.
But yeah, they'll still benefit from it, but they don't see it that way.
No, they don't.
They want to keep pulling and just bringing everybody into the black community and affecting them with this just self-destructive mindset. I remember seeing a video with Amanda Seals where he said, "Oh, our skin is the product of grape," and I'm thinking like, why can you say that with just a straight face and just like I would never in my life just look myself in the mirror and say just such a degrading thing about myself. And then I think about it. That's what the pro-blacks have taught Amanda Seals to look at herself for. It's just all self-destructive. It's just pro-blackness has now just become just uplifting dark-skinned people.
Yeah.
Like pro-black isn't even pro-black anymore.
Yeah. So my daughter went to a funeral of a friend the parents, the mother was from Virginia and she was white and the father was black, and father died a long time ago, and she was remarking about Well, it's only been since Loving in Virginia that it's been lawful for blacks and whites to marry. I said, "Now, don't give me that nonsense. I thought I had taught you better. All right, that is a Virginia ruling that went to the Supreme Court, and then because the Supreme Court ruled on it, it became the law of the land." But in Michigan never had a law that outlawed interracial marriages. And I told her, I said, a lot of states never even had that law on the book. Culturally, it may have been unacceptable, but it was never legalized. It was legalized in, I don't know how many states it became illegal for somebody, a white person, to marry a black person. But before that, there weren't enough white women in this country for the white men over in the United States to even marry or have relations with. So it was never illegal. It became illegal in the 1700s. Maybe in the early 1800s, some of these states started to look at what Walter Plecker did in 1920, the one drop rule. So when you look at these relationships, all of them, and you're right, because they have this Stockholm syndrome where it's beaten into somebody like Amanda Seales' head and others who think like that, to say all of it was rape. None of it was consensual, when it was the only thing that white men could do in the 1600s, because there weren't any white women even over here.
Let's be honest. I think we all can, especially like looking at the way a lot of white men. Let's be honest. White men have just always been enamored by mixed women. Like, trust me, that
always
those relationships were not always non-consensual.
Hey, look, I'll take it even further. Just look at men. Men don't discriminate. I want a piece, so I'm gonna go grab me a piece, right? So, but yeah, you're right. They have been enamored. They have been enamored. But it wasn't. What I'm saying is, all of them didn't come from rape. It was consensual, because that's the only thing they had. Now, maybe it was a lot of it was. I'm not arguing that, because a lot of it was. But
yeah, we're not arguing that. But I think to sit up here and say that it was just universally that, I think is wrong. Yeah. Because I think in that case, I think a lot of black people nowadays just don't want to admit that there were some black people back then that weren't slaves.
Yeah.
I
even saw something last week where you had a lot of people, a lot of blacks that are called, what are they called when they ran away? Maroons. And they created their own society up and down this area of Virginia, tens of thousands of them. And they went into the swamps where they couldn't be captured, because they just weren't willing to go that deep into the woods and into the swamps. And those people then crossed the swamp and were able to find land and then cultivate that land and live amongst themselves. That's part of how the Melungeons came to be.
It's funny you say that, because it just reminded me of like even my own like like when we used to go to vacations in Mississippi, like a lot of people that were like in my grandmother's family, and they were like really light-skinned black. They were so deep in the woods, it almost felt like you were just your own tribe. Like nobody, only a select few people would even know where we drove, and you never seen cars there. It was like nobody would ever even know that people live this far deep in the woods.
Right. It was too deep. People were afraid. And then I guarantee you, because I have a family photo of the turn of the century, of schooling, education, where the kids in this area where my family is from were getting educated, right? And so it was my great uncles, however you call them, my grandmother, her brothers were holding shotguns. One was stationed in the front of the school. The other was, the father told him, get in the back of the school. Anybody that challenged you to this type of education, shoot them. So, and that was in the deep woods of South Carolina. And so with a black teacher, a lot of mixed families or mixed looking kids, MGMs, and the white people are saying, no, they can't get this education. And their father, the two oldest boys, their father told them, if anybody comes up here, you have the right to shoot them. And that was in the deep woods of South Carolina, where these kids were getting educated by a teacher. I'm talking 1890s, 1880s. And that happened even before then. So people just don't understand the stories that we have, and the fact that we were doing this, and we were brave enough to do it. We weren't going to kowtow to any white person. We weren't going to kowtow to any black person. We were going to go create our own communities, and to hell with anybody that questioned us. And we dare you to come into our area. The picture that I have of my great uncle's great uncle was him holding the shotgun in the school picture, just like you take an elementary school picture or a high school class picture. There are about 20 to 30 students, the teacher and my great uncle standing there with a shotgun, and his brother standing behind the school, but he was the one pictured there standing up with the shotgun behind the teacher. Essentially, it was, don't fuck with us. We're back here in these deep woods. And listen, you know what would have happened if they had come down to your family in the deep woods of Mississippi and they started some stuff? Nobody ever would have missed them.
Oh, AMR, you still? I know I haven't really heard from you in a while. You still there?
Why does he do that?
Yeah, I'm still here. Wow,
gets
so
quiet like that all the time.
yeah, but you know what though, but truthfully, I'm trying my best not to really, I don't want to say like not talk too much, because I'm still like battling a sinus,
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
those are never fun.
And so I'm just pretty much not, don't want to be too interactive in the sense to where it's like, oh man, I'm battling this and trying to communicate. But however though, but going back to the points that y'all made earlier, especially about the lovings of Virginia, and where and again, I try not to fall into the conspiracy theory, but nobody really pays attention to this too much, as well as they should, because when you think about it, I don't know. Again, people didn't. I don't even really think they ever noticed at that time when those two married. I think he was overage and she was underage.
I'm not sure.
So when people were saying that we're products of grape, and again, I normally would be like, well, let's challenge back then to all the FBA ignorant people. Did your children become products of grape too?
Oh yeah, it was all it happened throughout the yeah.
And another thing to me, and again, I was also, reading some of the chat's comments, and some people don't like the word, mulatto. Okay, fine. Because it just may sound, maybe what's the word I'm looking for? Like maybe the word mulatto maybe just sound too what they said too by racialish, but at the same time, get like I don't, get like even with us, we're sort of byproducts.
Yeah, I'm looking at Lighthouse's comment on here. You made me look, AMR, and at his, and he says mulatto never meant first generation only. My parents, grandparents, and everyone was mulatto. So he's right. When you look at the census, it never was meant to be first generation. It was descriptive for all of us.
I just think now it's just so many detractors that if there was a distinction, it would just get watered down to the point where it just wouldn't even mean anything. Especially now with like all the just obsession by certain sectors of the Black community to just make every person that looks even a little bit light skinned with Black DNA just a part of the Black community. I just think at this point it would just be a losing battle.
Yeah. Well, I know
And
AMR's
also,
got to have some. AMR, you got to have some stories, man. I mean, your family's from Louisiana. You got to have some stories.
most definitely. And and the funny thing about that is like they're like even in my mom's case, like her family is originally from I believe Opelousas.
Mm-hmm.
Opelousas,
Mississippi,
Louisiana.
Louisiana. Okay, Louisiana. Okay.
Yeah, Opelousas, Louisiana. And just even looking at my grandma's social structures and norms, and even turning out how she looked. I've always stated, and I still stand by this, that don't be surprised. And I even told my mom, I'm like, hey, yo, look, don't be surprised if you've come to find out later on that you have a white grandmother. Do not be surprised about that.
Yeah, because of the way she looked.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And because, and again, I love her. Again, I love her to death, but even she has stories where she would work because she was going to school to be a nurse, and as well as she also did some caregiving work early on when she was a teenager, I think. And they would always refer to her as inward girl.
Mm-hmm.
Like a inward girl.
Mm-hmm.
And even that, and it's like and it's like we all can agree that was based off of ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
It was all based off of ignorance. And even with the whole pairing dynamics of other Creoles, getting together and building a family. I mean, hell, like even my cousins, they did how sometimes, you could take a picture of yourself and kind of like animate it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes either you can come out a Latino or white, Asian. they were doing that, and the depiction of it is funny, and I don't mean, and that's not in a negative way. I'm like, well, don't be surprised if I come out, if I do one and it comes out looking exactly like you guys, because we're very unique,
Right.
very unique. And my mom, her being the oldest of out of all of her sisters, even though she had four brothers and three sisters, well, two sisters. She just happens to be the oldest out of the sisters. There were literally trying to fight her, combat her. Whether if it was family, whether if it was other people, because they really wanted what she have, not because she did anything to them personally, but just the way that, because they want what you have, and you're just too strong, you're too strong, level-headed to not really fall for the BS.
This is an interesting comment. It's me said, I find that people, whether they be light skinned or dark skinned, tend not engage in the light skin slander. So I don't care if somebody looks unambiguously black. I think culture is more important.
Yep. Part of me agrees with that as well. But then even with the culture, right? If I go out and I procreate with someone who doesn't really look necessarily like me, I don't know. Again, I don't know how if my culture is still going to be with them or if it's going to be washed or watered down, which is why I try my best to sort of like advocate like what we're doing now. Like, hey, we get it. I may not even, fit the standard of what you're looking for. But the thing is, you can't deny that if we just sort of kind of like, have this form of unity where culture and legacy can be kept.
I think in that case, I would say in my personal life, as far as like slander goes, I would say MLS. I never really have heard anyone talk about dark-skinned black women in a negative light. Most of the people negative lights I've heard have been about MLS men, even in my personal life, at the workplace, on the internet. Like I just have yet to hear like anyone talk about like dark-skinned people in a real negative light. And most of the time, even when they do, it's from fellow dark-skinned black people. Like I just don't really hear.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. Even in me growing up, when I grew up, I didn't really see light skin, and let me be specific as to the male category. I didn't really see light skinned men saying negative things about other black men, dark skin or what have you. I just never saw it. Some people may think I'm not being honest, but I just, that's not what I saw. I saw the opposite. I saw the opposite, where, like we were talking earlier, it was always the black male coming at the MLS guy. So I agree. But as for what the cultural stand is true too. I mean, look, one of the things that I think is important is that you're more comfortable in people that are culturally like you. That's just the nature of man, to be comfortable around people. And I'm not talking about necessarily people that look like them. I'm talking about people who think like them, people who come from a same background that can relate to how they are. And I'll give you a perfect example. So I grew up on a certain side of town. When we went to play basketball at the playgrounds, some of the guys would say, "Oh, we know exactly what side of town you guys are from," right? And it was based upon the way we played, not the aggressiveness with which we played, but the way we played. We were fundamentally sound. We weren't on this showboat stuff. It was just like uh, uh, gentlemen gangsters, where we had fundamentals. We knew how to play the game. So if you know how to play the game and you're good at it, well, you're just gonna light some people up. And they couldn't. But our style of play, with the minute we got to, the east side, then and we started practicing or running warm up, they say, "Oh, you mofos are from over here," and say, "Yep, but we're gonna run this court." So I agree with the cultural argument that she was talking about, and that's how I run. That's how my friendships have been created. Basically, my friendships are based upon people I have grown up with that have the same way of handling themselves in life, the same desires, the same, what they want to be, what they want to do in life. And if you get around people that don't have that and want to bring you down, or you have to, act a certain way that's just gonna be degrading to you, you gotta get yourself out of that.
Good points. I think so. This is a question for everybody on the panel, and even everybody in the chat. I would love to hear like their take on this. Where do you think MLS men need to go from here? We know the games, we know the manipulation. We've talked about this for years. What needs to be our next move?
Is AMR muted? You muted? You're trying to talk.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, I was muted a little bit. Sorry about that, y'all. Where I think we should go from here on. Whew. Well, because one, it's already, again, like one thing, to know, again, for even for me, that I'm already on a sort of like I don't want to say in the world, but in a place where, I'm pretty much like, it's sort of like pretty much being on an island. And again, even trying to like navigate and maneuver around this island. You're pretty much, again, it's like pretty much and I really don't want to use this term either, like the going the own way kind of thing.
I could agree with that.
So yeah, because again, it's like, because I mean, yes, there have been, people who have taken other routes. It's like, hey, well, because America is right now in the landscape that we're in, is just not necessarily really not doing us any favors. Yeah. So we may just have to venture out elsewhere and check it out. Not necessarily just strictly just to get women, but also just, educate ourselves more and learn how to adapt. If that makes any sense. Hello?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just typing up a comment. It was like YouTube stopped it.
Freaking YouTube.
I think it's spam. I've never seen that before. Let me see if I can type it up again.
This
I
movement
might have to.
needs publicity because people don't know we here, so we can't grow. Is this only for men?
Wow, YouTube is rejecting my own comments on my own video. Okay, I'm just gonna say it since I can't comment now. Awesome. But I would say it applies to MLS women too, but I don't really know if I'm the one to really tell MLS women how they should move in society. I really feel that's not really my place. I think it would have to be an MLS woman that would have to tell MLS women how they should move.
Well, it wasn't only for women. I mean, we would all get on the panel with "The Future is Golden" all the time, and
Yes.
there were more women in the space like 3 or 4 years ago when she was there, and there may have been a few others. Uh, it was unfortunate that biracials tended to have conflict with the MGMs and the Golden Sphere, but so no, it's not. Women should step up. I'd love to hear their voices to come on a panel and just keep the flow going.
Yes. Hashtags. Yeah, they get shadow banned to hell and back.
Because we want the women's perspectives as well. See, I only have one
Absolutely.
child. That's a daughter. So and I talk with her about this stuff when the topic comes up. Like I said, she had gone to that funeral, and I had to tell her that loving was just a case that got taken to the Supreme Court because it was challenged in Virginia. But for our people, for the women, for the men to believe that interracial marriage was illegal in every state for the time period and not have a historical perspective that it was made illegal in these states and it was legal beforehand. We need to have these conversations. So, to give more historical talking points like you guys did with this guy that you mentioned earlier, women have these knowledge points as well. So now you ask about where we should go from here. I don't know, AMR, you seem kind of hesitant to say we need our own category.
you know, that's probably what I was looking for. About we definitely need our own category.
I mean, we need our own category. Like I say, all it is historically, we had that category. Historically,
Yeah.
it needs to be brought back. It's not
or it needs to be, definitely revised again.
Revised,
like,
revised,
revamped, and sort of brought back to light again, despite the negativity. Right, I mean, yeah, absolutely. Negativity is gonna come, and in every shape, fashion, and form. That's just the nature of the game. But
from time immemorial, from time immemorial. These motherfuckers have been on us
Yeah.
from the
I
very
mean, hell,
beginning.
and they still they still talking shit about the Blue Vein Society. But I'm like, well,
Right.
believe it or not, you don't even realize that hell, even people who were not necessarily MLS was in these movements too.
And they want to what they want to do is say that we're the ones that did it. We're not the ones that came up with the term. From what I've read, maybe not with Blue Vein, but with some of these other terms that were called, it was white people that came up with those terms. I mean, and then when you look at the house Negro versus the field Negro, that had nothing to do with color.
No.
Sure, you know what I mean? But what do they attribute it to? Light-skinned people. I mean, overall.
You know what's funny? But I've been reading a couple books about like mixed race slaves back then, and they all seem to all say that it wasn't just white people that were causing them. A lot of those slaves were causing those mixed slaves problems too back then.
Right. Yeah. I mean, look.
But that always seems to get talked about, and that's that's pretty much more where it's focused on,
Right.
where somebody's that one side is always going to be blamed for what was going on because that's how they want to tell whatever history that they claim to be telling.
Yeah, their fallback is always to revert to the house Negro, Uncle Tom running to tell when it was the dark-skinned guy doing it the most.
Yeah, I'm like, hell, think that Willie Lynch letter just came out of nowhere?
Right.
Despite knowing that it's fake. It's always been fake.
So it's where do we need to go from here? We need our own category. That's what we need. We need to get, like you said, it needs to be rebirthed, revised. I don't care what you call it. I'm almost to the point that if Mulatto gets brought back, I'll go with it. I mean, if it's the only thing that people are going to settle for, I'll go for it. But in no way am I, discounting my black cousin, right? But it's high time. It's high time that it gets brought back.
That's where the problem is going to come in, though. There, for whatever reason, a lot of dark-skinned black people, if there was a separate category, it would just be Dominicans and Puerto Ricans. Oh, you guys are just running from your blackness, like that. That's all they're going to say.
Yeah, but that's the same argument right now that FBAs are facing from Africans and Caribbeans. You guys are delineating. You're denying your blackness, right? You're denying you're denying your Africanness. That's what FBAs are being told right now online by Africans. If you go on any of these streams where you got Africans and Caribbeans on here, they are up in arms telling black FBA, people who claim they're FBA. And I claim I'm FBA. I'm foundational to this country, but I also know who I am, a multi-generationally mixed guy, but I am foundational with black roots, with African heritage. But they are the Caribbeans and the Africans mostly are all against this foundational Black American moniker that they're pushing, because they're saying you're denying slavery happened to anybody but you. You're denying, and the Africans are really hard on them, saying you're denying your African. Black people in this country are getting told the very thing that they have been telling us, that we're denying something. You don't want to be us, but they are getting the same.
But they getting the same type of treatment.
Exactly.
So it's like, so it's like, so if they could say, well, We're fighting a losing battle. No, y'all are also fighting a losing battle.
Well, or turn it into a positive and say, look, you're fighting for yourselves to get this group, this recognition, and we're fighting as well. So you
Well,
can't
honestly,
deny us.
that whole African American term anyway was just stupid from the very beginning.
Yeah.
I was even talking about this with my mom, like not even too long ago, and even she was saying like this, the term like a lot of the people that are here today have never laid a toenail in Africa.
Come on. You know, it's amazing to me. I'm perplexed over the 1619 project where that journalist wrote that was the first slaves coming into the United States was 1619, and any good journalist would have easily been able to research and find that the first noted landing of Black people, Africans in this country that had been brought over from the west coast of Africa was in 1526. Almost 100 years before she brought up that 1619 in Jamestown, right? So historically speaking, my father was in the same camp as your mother. I don't know anything about Africa. Never been to Africa. Don't know. And their generation, and I'm older than you. I'm speaking of a generation before you two. So I'm probably your parents' age. My parent, which would be your grandparents, said the same thing that your mother said. I'm not African, never been to Africa. My family's never been to Africa. And then when you look at if you go back to the very first landing in South Carolina, it was 1526. And we rebelled even then in 1526. So, yeah.
So the bronze mule said that light-skinned Black people went back to the community instead of following suit. I think
Yeah,
I
to the
gotta agree with
mulattoes
that.
and deviating.
Well, at that point, because of the census being taken, now the one thing that Plecker was able to do in saying the one drop rule or the change of getting the census changed nationally, we were all going to be lumped in to one group. I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
The more I think about the term light-skinned Black, I just start to think that it honestly is just a subservient term. Like like even the way you say it just sounds like you're just putting yourself behind.
You're
Because like even if you look at like the picture of like Charles, to me that's what, when you say light-skinned Black, that's basically what you're putting a green check mark for.
Right.
Okay for.
I feel you. I definitely feel you on that. So it is something that we should probably get. That's why I like the term multi-generationally mixed. But I would prefer a term. I even came up with a couple terms, but I came up with this other term called let me figure, maluro. Let me see. Maluro, something like it. Maluro, and it is a combination of the Mali Empire and the European empires. So when you put the two together, Mali and European, you come up with a
Facts. It's me. It's like the equivalent of being a ginger and a white. That's basically what it's starting to feel like.
But it doesn't have black white in it, right? And it gets away from the negative mulatto, right? So it's a term that is has no color to it. But if people were to accept, and it doesn't have to be that term, and I'm just saying a new term that were specifically for multi-generationally mixed biracials, black, white biracials, because let's be clear, I'm not talking about any other biracial group, right? Black, white biracials.
I
Uh,
actually I
go ahead.
actually heard them saying that people are saying that gingers are black now.
That's bullshit. That's crazy.
So they just pretty much just taking any and everything and just go throw them in the black category, go throw them in the black category. I'm like, are you serious
Come on, how
right
can you
now?
even say that? How can you even say that? Where did that even come from?
And I'm like, yo, you're not going to even do that with cinnamon, and you're not going to even do it with nutmeg, but you want to do it with ginger.
That's the craziest shit I've ever heard.
And it's like you can't win for lose. Like these mugs will never be satisfied, no matter what you do.
You
Well,
tell me you're gonna take an Irish redhead and now you're gonna put her in the black category. Give me
apparently.
break.
I'm not doing that, but according to the people who have that, that mindset, it's just like I'm like, no, like I'm like, your numbers is that bad to where you're willing just to take any and everything despite them not necessarily identifying racially historically from what you are.
Yeah, DeAndre Wilson said it best. It just sounds like a subgroup. Like I think, truth be told, that's why we just keep falling into these same problems over and over again. We are making ourselves a subgroup. That's all it's ever has been, is a subgroup.
That's why we need to have our classification brought back. That's where we go. That's the only way we can do this.
I think your mic's messing up. You sound far away.
Okay, I'm on Bluetooth. I had to get rid of. I had the old the plug-in headset on, so let me put that back in.
Well, that's probably the reason why they're saying they're black now. I think a lot of these people are thinking we're in the wrong head.
Bunch of horn dogs.
Yeah.
No, we don't need you to think with that head. We need you to think with the head at the top of the body.
I don't know. They just probably for them it's probably still a small mind. So I don't know if it'll help.
Because it's like, hey, yo, so basically it's like, yo, if it's like we try to refill the stock so we can continue to to procreate and impregnate as much as you possibly can.
Yeah.
And then that's why the saying goes, oh, like, yeah, thinking with the wrong head and not the one upstairs.
Gets a lot of people in trouble.
Yeah. Elevator don't go all the way, does it?
No, riding on the short bus.
Stopping at the second floor.
It's like, well, it's like, well, we don't want these people that were historically figures of what claims to be Black history. Okay, well then give us back Charles Drew.
Yeah.
Give us back Malcolm, Muhammad, Thurgood, W.E.B.,
Plessy,
Frederick Douglass. Give them back.
Yeah.
Well,
see, nobody really talks about Charles Drew too much now, do they?
No.
Well, there was a certain someone in, I don't know, my messiness is starting to, but there was a certain someone back that said a few years ago that I'm sure AMR knows what I'm talking about, who used to say, well, they claim black though. It's like, okay, and
But you
your
know
point.
what? Part of it is because, and this is another thing that I was thinking about today. Part of it is the time period. We have, I
Yes.
mean, that you're talking almost 100 years ago, right? You're talking a time period changed generationally, and we have gone through all of these names in the Black community, right? As I said, mulatto and colored were on the 1850 or 1860 census. It got taken off, and so Black people have gone through how many different name changes, and so that was the acceptable terminology. That was the point. So it's like saying current day Republicans were like the Republicans that fought in the Civil War to fight against slavery. What kind of nonsense is that with you racist as Republicans now are going to claim you are like the ones who fought in the Civil War, the North versus the South, and you are akin to them? No, you're not. Times change, and the way the words we use have changed, and people have to understand. You can't say just because Charles Drew, Frederick Douglass, all of them were using terminology like Africans or Black or something like that, that if they were around today, having gone through some of the experiences that they even went through at that time, that they'd still be using that terminology, right? Because there was a period in America where you did have those groups that were trying to just be amongst themselves, in my estimation, to prevent being around all the bullshit that they were experiencing from their brethren, right?
And even if you look at like some of the light skin or like the mixed like historical figures, they were pretty much with mostly other light skinned people
Yeah,
like themselves.
and
Like
and my and,
this stuff didn't start until I say like the civil rights movement, where everything just started to get.
yeah, all I have to say is that this stuff has been going on. I said a number of times earlier, from time immemorial. Shit ain't new. It's not new that they've been calling us names, trying to attack us. It's not new. It's not new for somebody who has to deal with this shit to want to be on their own and be with their own people. It's not new. So don't come on here projecting that we're trying to separate because we want to deny this part of our heritage, or deny this part of our heritage. We want to get away from the bullshit that is being projected onto us. That's how I feel.
Right. And that was where, Anon and LSM was, as well as Caesar Cannon and all the other, YouTube proponents that came before and after.
Right.
They were
But
on that tip.
Yeah.
the thing was, it was actually fellow light skinned people that were probably the biggest detractors that hated it the most. What they were doing.
Yeah.
Because they had Stockholm syndrome. Like, who did you say that woman was that we were talking about early?
Amanda Seals.
Yeah, Amanda Sills. I mean, carrying
Oh
the
yeah.
carrying the
They
water.
they beat her down
Right.
to the point to where her resilience level there is none. It's at an
Right.
all-time low.
Well,
And you,
if you even look at Amanda Seals, like if you just look at her, like they say, eyes are the keys to the soul. If you look at Amanda Seals, you can tell there's just a lot of trauma in that mind.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Yeah, and I think it may have been, possibly due to what she went through personally growing up.
I mean, shit, I look, every fight I got into was because of the way I looked. But I'll be damned if you think I'm not standing on business and being uh, 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 standing up for who I am, I have always said, yes, this is who I am. This is my background, and I'm not denying it. Just because I look light, bright, damn near white, I really could care less. And so every fight I ever got into was because of it. Maybe that's why, I became stronger in that, because I had to fight for it.
Yes.
Maybe that's why I just, decided to say, fuck you all, fuck it. I'm not dealing with this shit. You're not going to do it to me. You're not going to do it to my brothers. You're not going to do it to any of my family members that look like me. And I stand up for people. There's this guy that comes on that searching for Uhuru or something like that. I can't pronounce it. And he calls himself Pan Mulatto. And they try to beat him up all the time. I have to step in and stop him. Like, I'm not going for this bullshit. You fucking Africans over here, you all want to say, oh, we weren't complicit in the slave trade, blah, blah, blah. And then he gets on there and he does say some stupid shit sometimes. But when they get on, say, you light skinned this, blah, blah, you mulatto, you don't know who you are. I'm like, what the fuck are you all talking about? Right? You need to stop that right now, because I'm not going to stand for it. And they stop. It's almost like I remember being in the schoolyard, and I'm going to diverge on something right now, but people don't, sometimes Black community doesn't like police officers, right? And so they're always talking about, how did you ever become why do Black people become police officers? That's like Uncle Tom shit. Well, let me tell you something. Maybe they became police officers because they don't like to see people get hurt, right? When you have a bully, and when I was growing up, this is how it was in with me and my partners. In elementary school, junior high, by high school, a lot of people had stopped with the bullshit. But it was like you had bullies come in and terrorize people. But then you needed the people to stand up for the people who couldn't stand up for themselves. Well, that was me and my friends, right? So me and my friends were smart, didn't take any bullshit. And the minute the bullies started to antagonize somebody who couldn't stand up for themselves, we stepped in, right? So if you were going to be the bully that then became the gang member, that then became the criminal, and then a Black person becomes a police officer, maybe that's what he doesn't like. He's not standing up for the white social justice system. He's standing up against your bullshit. And that's what we're doing right now by saying we need to reclaim our category. We're tired of your bullshit. We're tired of the bullshit that's been going on for hundreds of years.
And you want to know what's funny about your story? That story basically summarizes the birth of this YouTube channel, honestly. That's what made me create this channel.
Okay.
I got tired of seeing Black people just talking about light-skinned men like this.
Yeah. Listen, for maybe it's even the age cohort that is younger than you guys, right? So the generation down from you all, because you all are in your 30s or 40s.
Well, I'm 26. I'm getting close.
Okay, so maybe it's your cohort then. I was amazed to see all the videos about light skin versus dark skin, that kind of thing. Because to be honest with you, we didn't have that in when I was growing up. It just didn't. And that's what I mean by how things change with technology and just generationally. Things have changed, because in my time, sure, we got into fights, but it was because sometimes they were like, you're light skinned, we don't like light skinned people, but they knew they were in for an ass kicking, right? Because most light skinned guys could handle themselves that I knew. they were like one of the toughest guys, the one that everybody was afraid of. He came from a family of 11 or something, and he was like the youngest. Hell, he had to fight at the house. So naturally, when he came to school or was out in the neighborhood, nobody wanted to mess with him. Nobody. And he was the toughest guy, he was Mike Tyson. He was built like Mike Tyson before Mike Tyson. And he was a light-skinned guy. Nobody would threaten him. Not one person would threaten him. And so, but your generation, the 20-year-olds, golly, I look at my nephews and I'm like, what are you guys dealing with? That stuff is crazy. So I understand where you're coming from.
I think I would say, like, my generation, it has gotten a whole lot worse, honestly.
Yeah.
I think now I think we just live in this generation now where people just pretty much hop on this like social justice warrior trend, and unfortunately, light-skinned Black people fall in that privileged white people class, and dark-skinned Black people are just the victims, regardless of context or any other situation. And now, since they're the victims, they pretty much get, I guess you could say, diplomatic immunity to just say, spew nonsense and bullshit
Right.
any which way, and it just flies over people's heads, and people just stick their heads in the sand and pretend it doesn't exist.
The other thing that's amazing about this time and this electronic age is everybody's a tough man, and so they can say anything behind these electronic walls.
Yes.
With no real repercussions. So they get bodacious about coming out and just talking smack. And I think that's the other thing where things have just got it. But it also, I mean, it's truth. It's like a truth serum. I used to say wine was the truth serum. Well, this electronic media is the truth serum, because it has shown us the true feelings of how people feel against us. And there are more people. What it's shown me is that there are a whole lot of people, more than I ever thought, that don't like multi-generationally mixed biracial people. There are a whole lot more than I ever thought there was. You grew up with it. But so now people can say whatever they want to say. They can hide behind the electronic walls, but what they're saying is their true feeling, I think.
Okay, so we have D here. D, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Oh, we're doing good.
I'm all
myself.
right. I'm all right, fellas. I've just been listening to you guys for a minute, and as somebody that recently been listening into your spaces, this mulatto light skin space.
Yeah,
it's definitely been eye opening. I'll say that. And I mean, after listening to a lot of you speak and a lot of you guys talk, like as a light skinned man, like I could say I've never had the experience you guys have had. I mean, from the things you guys say, from what you went through in the school, and because I grew up in a diverse neighborhood, so like I never had these sort of, you know what I mean, like these social dynamics. So
it's always best to grow up in those type of neighborhoods.
Yeah, I grew up with people, Asians, Indians, different people, Koreans.
It keeps
So I
you
was
grounded.
exposed. Yeah. Yeah,
And
it does.
You want to know what when I was referring to the time, the generations of in which people like Thurgood Marshall and Rosa Parks and all of them grew up. Well, there were no immigrants when I grew up. It was only black, white, And it wasn't until I got to college that this shocked me, right? I'm sitting in political science. We're having a discussion about minorities, and this Jewish woman says this Jewish girl says she's a minority,
Oh.
and she's sitting next to me, and so I went to university in Arizona, so there weren't too many black people, right? And I have to tell you, they were ready to kill her. These Aryan students out there were like, "What the hell are you talking about?" But I was like, listen, I was like, let me move my seat away from her because they are about to stone her to death. You know, I mean, that's how much dissension was coming at her from what she said, and she was being aggressive with her dislike of white people, right? And saying that Jews were a minority, blah blah. And if you ask what we need to do, we need to become more like Jews. But anyway, getting back to my time growing up, there were no Mexicans. There were not. Listen, it was only black people and white people. That's it. So now, fast forward, we had a whole lot of immigrants coming into the United States. So, you know, I think my daughter experienced something like the young man just talked about now, and that's a good thing.
D, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, that's interesting. So she said
like
she was Jewish.
You mean the girl that was sitting in
yeah,
my
yeah,
class?
yeah, the girl in your class.
I would kind of like to hear you expand more on like your upbringing and how it might have helped you not have to deal with.
So actually, I will say, yeah. So my upbringing. So, I mean, I grew up, like I said, in a diverse neighborhood. So, different peoples, different languages, and I befriend all some people. Illinois, suburbs of Illinois.
Well, I'm from
places
Detroit, so I'm your neighbor, but
oh yeah,
I grew up in the '60s.
Okay, so that's a different time period. Okay, so I'm a little older than Brown and Beige. I'm 28, so I'm a little
close.
So close, so yeah. But so we grew up around the same era. So yeah, so I mean, like I said, I grew up in a diverse area, I befriended all sorts of people, Italians, Mexicans, Asians, blacks. So, I mean, my experience, I would say my experience is rather, listening to you guys talk about it, it's relatively tame, you know what I mean? I wasn't getting into fights based off my skin color, like like the older gentleman was saying. So,
oh yeah, I mean that's just normal for growing up in my time period. People fought anyway.
yeah. When I hear stories from older guys, I mean, it sounds like a whole different world,
Yeah.
Like I was saying, my experience was relatively tame. I didn't get in the fights or anything like that based off skin complexion and things like that. It was, for me, it was a good old high school experience, middle school.
Well, I said my nieces and nephews probably had the same experience growing up in the suburban community, but they still experienced a little racism. Now, I haven't heard them necessarily talk negatively about it because one of my nephews, well, two of them are one is 30 something, the ones that I'm talking about now, and the other is 20, probably your age, 26 though, it's 27. And they grew up in outside of DC in Maryland. So they had the same type racial makeup in their schools that you did in Illinois. And you grew up outside of Chicago?
That's correct. I grew up outside the city of Chicago.
Yeah. And so at this point, listening to your the way you speak, you came from a middle to upper middle class family?
That's correct.
Yeah. So that plays into it. And that's how they grew up. And to be honest with you, that's how I grew up. But it was a different time. It was a different time. I grew up during the riots, right? And so, I mean, I hit my teenage years in the 70s. But I did experience the Detroit race riots. I mean, I saw it. And so it was time. But then right after that, and time, I also have to admit this. The neighborhood I grew up in, there's nothing that could match it. We had fun. We had a blast. There's nothing that could compare. I don't even think today I wouldn't change the neighborhood I grew up in. But it wasn't racial. We didn't have a whole lot of different, like I said, it was just black, white, and Jewish. And the Italians were on the east side of Detroit.
Okay, so yeah, you didn't have a lot of marginalized peoples, things like that, different subgroups.
No, I grew up on, like I said, I came from a middle class, upper middle class background.
Okay.
But that didn't shield. If you grew up in Detroit, you better, I don't care what background you came from, you were going to have to show that you were made out of something. But now with my daughter and my nephews, I'd almost say all of them have a similar background to what you experienced.
No, I mean, that sounds, that's wonderful. We get to experience different cultures, different people, different languages, It isn't so monoracial, so one-sided, monoracially wise, that they don't get to experience, different peoples, they don't get to learn about other people, and their behaviors and their cultures and things like that. Like I said, I had a pretty good childhood. I wouldn't change it for the world.
What's your take on what we've been talking about?
Okay, so
the racial categorizations and that kind of thing.
Okay, so I mean, when people talk about racial identification, I mean, they usually what they mean. They usually mean, okay, are you black or are you white?
Mm-hmm.
Every now and then they mention Asian and others, but as far as what light-skinned people can do, I think very interestingly, light skin used to be called high yellow,
Mm-hmm.
and
so how do you
for
know
dark
that?
skin?
How do you know that?
Research, reading,
Your parents
like
didn't tell you about that?
No, believe this or not, no, not at all.
Okay,
They did.
I just wondered.
Because, like I said, I had a pretty good childhood growing up. I didn't grow up with racial tensions and things like that. I personally, I'm sure discrimination was, it exists everywhere, But for me, like I said, I grew up, I had white friends, I had Mexican friends. So, I mean, I'm not saying, these things didn't exist, but like in my personal experience, I didn't bear the forefront, of those racial tensions, if you know what I mean.
And how is your work environment now?
I mean, I work for myself, on my own business, but
okay.
Pretty good. I wouldn't complain. But as far as racial, to get to what you guys are talking about, racial identity,
identity classification,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't really. When people say, like I said, when people say racial identification, it's very binary. It's very two-way. So it's like, okay, in America, you're either black or you're white, and if you're not those, you're some variation of black or white. You know what I mean? You're like a white Hispanic, or you're a white adjacent Asian person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
go ahead.
so if you're in this system of, if you're in, I don't even call it system, it's racial identification of America. It's so much more complex. And when I say complex, I don't mean your identity or just how you look. Your genetics, right? You know how people take DNA tests and DNA kits. Your genetics. You're a mixture. I don't want to just dumb it down to percentages, but you're so much more than just your if you will, like FBA say, there's so much more than just they're the ethnogenesis, right? You guys talked about ethnogenesis earlier. So
Mhm.
who they are, they're a combination of so much more things than just you're more than just black. You had a tribal name, or if your genealogy says you had your family owned, I don't know, this plot of land or whatever. So I'm just saying, simply to say, you're so much more than what people say black and white. You're so much more genetically diverse, is what I'm saying. You're so much more than
Have
those
you taken
things.
a DNA test?
I haven't actually taken a DNA test, which is intrigued me. I've been thinking about taking one myself. So I really want to get to know my own roots and
I took
who I
mine.
am.
I took mine. It's interesting because
Okay.
I get on some of these. Like I was saying, I was on this panel earlier this week, and it's American guy that goes over to Africa, and he takes people over there for tours and vacations, that kind of thing. But a lot of Africans get on there, and you may have heard me say that the Africans really come down hard on the FBA group and telling them they're upset because they're trying to they say they're trying to separate and deny their African heritage. And then when you listen to the Africans, they're ready to kill each other over tribes that they belong to, and
Right.
the war that's going on right now. So I told them, I said, how can you deny the fact, one, that you were thoroughly involved in the transatlantic slave trade? Two, there was epigenetic differences that were created over time, and the ethnogenesis. And I said, so when you look at me, when I did my DNA, I have what my DNA shows, I have like 13, 14 different tribes coming from 7 different African nations, thereabout. So how can you tell me that I'm like you when all of you over there are saying that you belong to the Hausa, you belong to the Fulani, you belong to, and I don't even know all of them. Those are just 2 names that kind of stick out to me of tribes, right? And they are ready to kill each other, right?
And
Whereas I got 13, 14 different tribes in my DNA. I'm different. We're different.
and even with that, like the way with Africans, it's like even in the slavery time, like a lot of those people that were in slavery, those were warring African tribes. Like they were kidnapping people from other tribes and then selling them to those white settlers for rum and like trinkets.
Trinkets, exactly. We're going to sell you off for trinkets. And they get into arguments. I mean, it's fascinating to listen to them because if you listen to them long enough, or on a panel where there are not Black Americans on the panel or Caribbeans on the panel, they wind up admitting that they were complicit in it, right? And I had to ask them one time, I said, so how many tribes were in the kingdom? And I didn't want to show my hand as to why I was asking that question. How many tribes are in the kingdom? They said, well, in the Mali Empire or in the Ghanaian Empire, there were this, that, and the other. I said, so there was a king, right? And they said, yeah. And then they said, so I said, after like 100 years, you guys claim that you didn't know what was going on back in the United States and how bad it was for the people that you had put into slavery. No, I said that's a lie. I said, and secondly, if you had a king and the king was over all the tribes, why didn't the king of the Mali Empire, of the Ghanaian Empire, of the Benin Empire stop the slave trade? They had no answer because they didn't know where I was coming from, because I asked on a certain level, is there a king? So if your tribes are warring against each other, shouldn't the king know about the tribes that are warring against each other and then selling the other tribal members off? Wouldn't he stop it? No, he didn't stop it, obviously. So you guys were complicit. So I told him I don't buy into the story that well, we were warring and we didn't really know what was going on. Therefore, no, you had a king. That king was there. And then when you listen to these guys, some of their families they belonged to the tribes that were into the slave trade. And then on the other side of my DNA, I got like damn near, well, I don't know, almost 10 different European countries. So when I say we're different people over in the United States. And then for us that are multi-generationally mixed, whether we call ourselves Creole, Mulatto, or whatever you want to call us, we are our own separate beings. That's where I come from on it.
That's a very good point, is me. He said, I always ask pro-black MLS that say that their white genetics come from that. I asked them, what about the African genetics that came from that when your ancestors were being sold?
I mean, yeah, that could be a council, essay. I mean, I'm not really well researched in that, so I don't want, get into that particular. But yeah, I'm sure there are councils. Well,
Is essay raped? Okay, you're not supposed to say that.
Yeah. I mean, you messed something.
Yeah. You got to be careful with that word.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
I mean, even in Europe, I'm sure there were, tribes of Europe, tribal, that were conquering people and enslaving, obviously,
Do you know that the Irish and the English, you know how long they've not been warring?
Not been warring, so they stopped fighting?
Oh, okay, right. They're still going on. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they stopped fighting.
Yeah,
You said not been warring. Okay.
Yeah. I said not been warring. I mean, not been out there throwing bombs and shooting at each other.
I don't know. I wouldn't know.
Okay.
Tell us. I don't know.
Okay, well, since the 80s, when the Irish Revolutionary, the IRA, laid down their arms against the Britons, and they came to some type of an understanding. And when I say understanding, I truly mean an understanding, but they still have big issues. For 400 years, the Catholic Irish and the Protestant British and the English were going at each other, trying to kill each other. And that just really said, look at movies, punch it up and pull down a movie of the Irish and the British. And you can still find where the walls separate to this day. They built brick walls that separated the Catholic community from the Protestant community, the British from the Irish.
Okay, so it was more of a religious war between the Irish and the British.
Oh yeah, but it was religious, ethnic. They saw themselves as different people.
I know. It sounds like one of those holy wars, kind of.
You could say that. You could say that. I mean, I don't think it would be. I don't think it would be wrong to put it in that category, because it was a Catholic versus a Protestant issue. but they fought for 400 years. And they finally came to an agreement in the 80s. You can probably pull up videos of them throwing bombs at each other, shooting each other. I mean, in the street. I'm not talking about bang, bang. I'm talking about multiple uh, 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 firefights in that where that division wall is. So, yeah.
Yeah, all the movies I can think of right now is Braveheart, but that's between the English and the Scottish. So, I
Yeah,
mean, the Irish,
and that's going back to like what Braveheart was in what time period?
like the 1300s AD.
Yeah, and I'm talking about 1980.
That's just another stupid talking point from Pro Wax.
What's that?
That our light skin comes from rape. I just laugh when I hear that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of those talking points, and we had this conversation to whoever said that. Not all of the relationships were through that. So yeah, that's a talking point though, that if you buy into that, regardless of whether you buy into it or not, what we are talking about right now is the fact that our experiences have led us to a point where we want to be left alone because of the bullshit that you all always give us anyway, except for the young man from Chicago. He's
Yeah. Okay, so when you guys say left alone, does this left alone? It's not like necessarily. I'm sure you have black family members, so you don't want to be left alone in the sense of, you know, complete separation, but you want
no.
No.
from separate from the BS or whatever. That's what you said earlier.
No, you know what we're talking about is a category. That's it. There's no way anybody can separate in the world, let alone this country, right?
Right.
Or this country, let alone the world. There's no way we're gonna. White people went off. What you see these things trying to build white communities right now, and they can't do it, right? There's no way anybody's gonna separate out and build our own community. I mean, that's pie in the sky stuff, right? But as we traverse through this world, or in our working spaces and everything else, for me growing up and during my time, and even what I hear about what we've been talking about here, and Brown and Beige has experienced it. So and a lot of people that are on YouTube talking about this, they have had bad experiences. And our thought process is that if we had my thought process is if we had our own racial category, then it confirms us. Not that I need reaffirmation, because I don't, but it reaffirms people in who they are in their being, right? And when I say left alone, when I say I had to fight, there was a time period in my life in the summer, one summer, I fought every single week.
Whoa.
Every single week.
Okay. You don't mean every single day, every single week. Okay. So it could have been on a Friday.
It could have been on a Saturday at the bowling alley. It could have been on Wednesday as I'm walking down the street and somebody just screams out, and then jumps out the car on me or something like that.
Right. Just want to make sure the folks understand. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was, listen, I had to look. I had guns put to my head. I had to beat people down, and so they wouldn't shoot me, right? Because of them calling me names, right? So if we are given our own category, then it lessens some of uh, the bullshit that happens, right? You don't go into the workplace and say you're not competing against a black guy because you're not in that category. You're in a category of your own. When you're going to school, you're not in this category. You are recognizing all of you. If that makes sense, you are able to recognize all of you. As we have said, we've been talking about the one drop rule, right? So the one drop rule is you got one drop of black blood, you're black. And so Brown and Beige mentioned a ton of people at the beginning of the show who, if you didn't know they were black, you would think they were white. And so it would just give legitimacy to who we are, given the fact that most black people are not going to let you represent them. And when it comes to the movies like AMR and Brown and Beige we're talking about, we're not represented. Black people have a problem when this guy, Brown and Beige, what was your last stream on? The Black Panther?
It was on Aaron Pierre. He didn't even officially get cast. They just said they were in talks with him. And even be in talks, the black community was in a complete uproar just because they even talked to Aaron Pierre about Black Panther.
Yet in Thurgood Marshall, you had Denzel Washington played he played Malcolm X.
Yeah, Chadwick Boseman. The same Black Panther basically played a clearly MLS man.
Right.
And got praise for it.
Right. So what we're saying is, no, we want our representation. And what they said earlier before was, look at all the people that in the black community right now, especially on YouTube, on this echo chamber, on these social media platforms. You can listen to some of them and they'll say, well, this is what the one that gets me the most. Malcolm X, he was mixed, not even black. I have heard that. And that blew my mind. That blew me away more than some of the others. But you will hear in these in these social media spaces where people will say, Rosa Parks wasn't black. Thurgood Marshall, he got that light skin privilege or something like that. Okay, sure. And the other thing that a lot of people complain of, you don't even know who you are. And we all say, no, we know who you are. You just have an issue with who we are. We know exactly where we come from and who we are. Right? And so it just gives us having our own category. To say we're going to separate, to me, is nonsense, because I don't have any white family members. And so I'm not going to get rid of my cousins. They are my cousins, and I'm talking blood cousins, right? But I would like us to go back to the early 1860 category where we had our own category.
That's interesting. Okay, so when you guys talk about, when I hear people talk about representation, I think what they're talking about, even with Aaron Pierre, I think they're talking about media representation. So anything media-wise, social media, television, even a YouTube channel or whatever. So I think that's what people are talking about, media representation. And I understand that. I can, I can see what people.
You can say that, but as I said earlier, social media where people hide behind electronic walls.
Right.
When they say it's only media representation, they are telling the truth about themselves. We don't need any light-skinned Aaron Pierre coming out and playing Black Panther. And oh, by the way, when Thurgood Marshall gets played, we need Chadwick Boseman or Denzel Washington to play him. Well, that's not a true representation.
Right.
And
was
even Thurgood Marshall
Right.
was misrepresented twice. He was portrayed by Sidney Poitier, who's even darker than Chadwick Boseman.
right. So you want to come up against us, but give us our fair due. That's what we're talking about.
And a lot of people will say, oh, there's not light-skinned actors on their level. Well, doesn't that prove once again that this whole light-skinned privilege talk is nonsense? That there aren't light-skinned actors that are prevalent in the world? But they don't want to have that conversation. It's
So
just all...
what do you think about that, Chicago? I'm going to call you Chicago because I don't know what your moniker is.
It's a D. It's a D.
Oh, D.
But
So what do you think about that?
I think I think historical. We're talking about historical representation, right? I think that want to be accurate in our representation. I think that's commendable. I think that's a good direction to go to. I don't really get hung up on the media representation. Oh, is he dark skinned? Does he have purple eyes or whatever? I mean, Wonder Man, right? I mean, Wonder Man was like a dark skinned man. Wonder Man, as long as I know Wonder Man, Simon Williams, the Marvel character, he was a white man. So I mean, that's not accurate at all, right? But if you can play the role, I mean, I don't have any problems with that. As long as I like good, good TV shows, good quality TV, good writing.
So
like anybody else.
then why then are people, dark-skinned black men and women, complaining that Aaron Pierre can't play Black Panther?
I'll leave that to you guys. I think you guys said it better than me. I mean,
Well, no. I mean, you have an opinion on it. I mean, you can have an opinion on it, right? I mean, because we didn't say that. Well, all we're saying is you shot him down. Zendaya can't represent. She was gonna represent some singer. They said, "How dare you give Zendaya the role of this black singer?" Right? And so they are just coming hot and heavy at anybody that they feel is too light to play a black actor.
Hidden Figures.
Hidden Figures.
Yeah,
that movie was probably the most blatant misrepresentation.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe dark skinned people, maybe they're insecure about their image. Maybe they think maybe there could be some. Maybe there's something that they feel is maybe they feel these roles in black media, or like they like to call it, black media is they feel insecure about the image. Maybe this is a way for them to strengthen their image amongst other people. I don't really know what the deal is with Eric Pierre. I think Eric Pierre could play the role in his sleep. I mean, he could definitely do it, right? I mean, we don't know what he's capable of. But as far as dark skinned people's perspective, and from what I listen to, I mean, they say Black Panther is a dark skinned man, and he should only be a dark skinned man. I think that's very limited thinking. I don't think that's very forward thinking, especially from people, that claim to be progressive, right? People claim to be progressive, very liberal, very forward thinking, and they're not racist, by the way. Black people say they're not racist. I don't think. I just think it is silly. Aaron Pierre clearly is a capable actor. He can absolutely play Black Panther. He can play with green eyes. In fact, they could have. I don't know. They could have his green eyes light up when he's playing Black Panther. I don't know.
Right.
But I mean, yeah, I don't get behind the notion that because he's not dark skinned, he can't play Black Panther.
Well, there's a lot of people that do though, and the problem is they want their figures represented right, but we're supposed to just stick our head in the sand when they represent us.
Yeah, so even online on X, on YouTube, dark skins, they might have a voice. They have a loud voice when they start talking about these roles in media and whatnot. How Zendaya can't play this role, represent black women. I mean, I recently seen this young lady part of this K-pop group. I don't know, Madden. She's a biracial woman, and they were recently talking about her on X. And black women immediately, the response to black women when Madden said she was a black woman, how she was struggling, how she was dealing with prejudices in the music industry. Black women immediately pushed back against this young lady. Her name is Manning, by the way. Her name Manon. They pushed back and they started saying, okay, she doesn't represent us. She's not a dark skinned woman with 4C features or whatever. So I mean I get what you guys are saying, right? I mean black people do push back against you know the notion of this person can't represent me because they're too light or their hair texture, it's not black enough or their eyes or their features. So I get what you guys are saying. I
Yep.
completely get it.
Yep. And that's the crux of our conversation and why we are pushing, why we think we should have our category back. Not to separate necessarily, because in my mind, if we had our category, that makes black people's category stronger, right? That makes them even stronger. Because the other thing that has occurred is that Middle Eastern, and North African is a new race, is a new census category for race. Middle East, it's called MENA, Middle Eastern North African. So the Arabs have their own racial category, right?
I didn't know that.
Now on the new census, you will have MENA, right? They got that okayed probably 2 years ago, right?
So what does MENA? Does that mean Egyptian? Is that North?
Yeah,
Is that Egypt?
yeah. It's going to take into, I think it's going to take into consideration all of North Africa, right? North Africa and going over into across the is it the Red Sea over there or something, where you into the Arab territories? So it's going to take into consideration all of them. Now, up until this time, they were white, and what they're trying to do with getting their own racial category now is to go after other set aside programs. So here's the other issue in why I think it would be stronger for black people to have this category, that not because the civil rights bills and all of those things were corrective legislation to address slavery in the United States. It wasn't for any other group. Now, within that civil rights bill, you had women and you had African Americans, blacks. Those are essentially the only two groups of people that were supposed to get any type of affirmative benefits in order to, as a corrective measure. But now you see where you have other groups coming in, and I can tell you from experience, having been in the corporate world, where, and even in the educational arena, on applications where all these other people are getting to use. If you look at the African population, they will say they're black, and then they get set asides coming their way. Well, MENA is a concerted effort in order to capture some of those government educational benefits.
And truth be
Right.
told,
Like scholarships, right? Like Hispanics do.
Even just admittance into the college.
Right.
Even admittance into the professional schools, or just into college itself. Because they're saying, well, we were harmed, and all of this, the genesis for that was, like I said, corrective action for those who were enslaved.
And truth be told, who's to say that's not the reason why Africans are pushing back from the fact that FBA like us are trying to differentiate?
Right. Yeah, that
Because
is one of the reasons. Yeah.
they benefit from us all trying to be under one umbrella. When we say African American, we're basically just putting ourselves on. We're basically just saying that we're immigrants, and we're not immigrants.
Right. Yeah, that's the other thing. We're not immigrants. How can you be an immigrant when you were in the country before it even came into existence? I mean, that the definition, the very definition of the word immigrant doesn't fit.
I mean, you want to go back to being Negro? I mean, no.
No, we want to have our own
Yeah, right.
identification that defines who we are.
Yeah, a lot of people just go with FBA now.
But we, as like there was we were talking earlier, there was this girl that I don't know if MGM was created before her, but she made it prevalent in my mind, right? And when I first heard the term MGM, I was like, well, man, that describes me perfectly. Now I don't have to go, well, I'm black with this, that, and the other, right? I'm MGM, multi-generationally mixed. So my family goes back hundreds of years. Because of my phenotype, you can just look at me and tell, okay, well, he's got some Black European in him. So what are you? That kind of thing. And that gave me that to me is one of the best terms that I've heard to this date, is to describe me, multi-generationally mixed. So, and what we're talking about now is a category that is specific to the black, white, interracial person in America. So a term that describes us in the United States. We're not talking about people in the Caribbean. We're not talking about people in South Africa. We're not talking people in Central or South America or anywhere else. A term that would specifically describe us here in the United States of America. And so you have a lot of people that are biracial, and biracial is a white parent and a black parent, that they are on a mulatto tip. There are a lot of them that are just on this mulatto tip. And they also want to to define mulatto as somebody who is first generation. You know, one white parent, one black parent, as somebody said in the chat, that their great grandparents or whatever were mulatto going back to the mid 1800s in the census. So there's just that's the discussion that we're having.
Well, guys, I think I'm about to call it a stream today.
Yeah, this is the longest one I've ever been on. You kept me up too long. I even had to make a little something to drink. and I'm an hour ahead of you guys, because you guys are still on daylight savings time. So you kept me up a long time. But it was good. I love these discussions.
Oh yeah, me too. We definitely had a lot of good conversations going.
Yeah. All right, man. I appreciate it. I'll look for your next one.
Yeah, all right, fellas.
Hey, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you for joining, D. It was definitely definitely some interesting perspectives.
Yeah, pop back up.
Yeah, I want to throw in some.
Because
Go ahead.
I like the diversity of the conversation. So I think one of the women asked whether or not it was just a male thing, and we need
it's absolutely not.
Yeah, so pop back up. All right, guys.
Adios.
All right.
I think I'm probably gonna have to start having like more, probably some woman-centric topics to get the women involved in the space a bit more. But I appreciate you guys for joining, sticking with me through these kind of inconsistent times, but consistency is, I'm sure y'all notice I've been streaming a bit often lately. I'm not trying to go on like real long dry spells and content. But thanks for watching, guys. Peace out.